Jonathan and his armor-bearer, 1 Samuel 14, 1-23. One step of faith that changed everything. When fear paralyzes a nation, when the enemy seems unbeatable and silence becomes the norm, when even the king is silent, God is still speaking. Sometimes two are enough to shake the world. This is not a story about numbers or strategies. It's a story about faith that moves heaven, even when the whole earth stands still. This is the story of Jonathan and his armor-bearer, the story of one step which God turned into a victory. King Saul was sitting under a pomegranate tree in Migron. The Israelites were terrified. The enemy was many, and they were armed. Israel had almost nothing, and the people hid themselves in caves and in thickets and in rocks and in high places and in pits. But in the midst of this fear, Jonathan speaks words that do more than challenge reality. They awaken faith. Perhaps the Lord will act on our behalf. Nothing can hinder the Lord from saving, whether by many or by few. 1 Samuel 6. His armor-bearer, faithful, humble, and full of trust, responds, "Do all that is in your heart. Go ahead. I am with you, heart and soul." 1 Samuel. So they went, just the two of them. No guarantees, no crowd behind them. They went because faith sees farther than the eyes can. The Philistines saw them and mocked, "Come up to us and we'll teach you a lesson." 1 Samuel 14, verse 12. But for Jonathan, this was no insult. This was a sign from God. And he said, "Come up after me, for the Lord has given them to the hand of Israel." They climbed up and began to fight. The first 20 enemies fell, and then God stepped in with his power. Then panic struck the whole army, those in the camp and field, and those in the outposts and raiding parties, and the ground shook. It was a panic sent by God. 1 Samuel 14, verse 15. The Philistines panicked. They turned on one another in confusion. And the Israelites, those who had been hiding in fear, came out of the caves. Fear turned to hope. Inaction turned to movement. And it all began with two men. Two who didn't wait for permission from the people, only for a sign from God. This story isn't just about an ancient battle. It's a story for all of us. When the world is silent, when it feels like everyone is hiding, and you don't have the strength, remember Jonathan, because maybe, just maybe, God isn't waiting for someone else. He's waiting for you. For nothing can hinder the Lord. 1 Samuel 14, verse 6. Say to him, "Lord, I don't know how, but I will go because you can." Because one step of faith might become the beginning of a victory that surprises everyone.